Hello, everyone. My name is Emily Perry, and I'm the Associate Director for Professional and Development and Networking with Penn Engineering. Today, I'm going to be talking about offer negotiation. I'm going to be discussing components of an offer, timeline, establishing a position of strength, preparing for hard questions, language and tone, and addressing exploding offers. When you think of components of an offer, there are lots of things to consider. But something that you need to think about in the first place is congratulations, they want you. Time and resources have gone into this offer, so you have a little bit of power here. You received the offer, so you're in the driver's seat for a little bit. When you're preparing for negotiation, you want to prioritize your points. You also want to have a range in terms of salary. So you want to have a clear lowest number. That's the number where you'll walk away and you'll feel fine walking away from it. They always say it's better to have a floor than a ceiling. And then you want to understand what's reasonable and what is not, both in salary and all the other components of your offer. You want to consider the entire offer. So that includes salary, bonus, stock options, relocation, all these things, right? The name of this webinar is offer negotiation instead of salary negotiation, because I sort of want to figure out and teach all of you how to use all of these components when negotiating. Salary research, however, is usually the best place to start. So you need to research your salary before you even apply to a job, because you need to know your market value. You need to understand what salaries are people in this field, in this industry are making, what salaries is this company paying folks, things like that. And then when you are starting to negotiate an offer, salary is usually the easiest place to start. So when we talk about salary research, there are a ton of resources online to help you figure out numbers. Glassdoor, Salary.com, PayScale, Indeed, SalaryList, Dice, and then these final two things. So the Penn career outcomes, what I mean when I say that is when students graduate, we survey everyone and we ask, did you get a job? And if so, what are the details of that job, including salary? So you can search by your major and see, okay, so Penn engineering students in this major, when they graduated and were surveyed, they were making an average of X amount. This is a good, easy anchor number, especially because we do this annually. And then similarly, if the job posting itself has an internal salary grade, you definitely want to use that as your main point of reference. So say they have a job posting and it says salary grade K. You can then Google that company and see if you can find their salary grades online. If you can't find them publicly in the first interview screen, that could be an easy question to ask of, hey, I noticed that online you list a salary grade. Do you mind just telling me what is your salary grade for K? That way you know exactly what the employer has in mind in terms of your salary for the role. You also need to understand the constraints of an offer. So, are they hiring multiple people on the same level for a new team? If so, you might sort of be stuck with closer to what they're proposing, mainly because they won't be able to justify giving one person on the same team a significantly bigger salary than the rest. Do they have salary caps? So that's something to ask yourself. Are they never going to be able to pay anyone higher than X? And then in that same vein, are you capped by the salary band? So say your salary band K and that range is 100 to 130,000. Are you never going to be able to go above 130,000 because they've already established with HR that this role is this band? Sometimes things like insurance, remote work, time off, and retirement are all standardized. So even though those are parts of the offer, it might be a lot harder to negotiate these things that are set in stone as established by a human resources group. Whatever you do not want to mention needs that are too personal without justification. So you can't say something like, oh, well, I take care of my ailing mother as well, and that can really add up. Like that, while that's sad and a hardship and something that might be important to disclose to your employer at some point, especially if it does impact your time, that's not something that will ever trigger a salary increase because it's a personal scenario. And at times, if you get too personal in the negotiation, that can sort of turn an employer off. So when are you talking about salary and the offer? Sometimes in the application, they'll ask for your salary requirements or salary range. At that point, you had already done the research because, like I said before, even before applying, you want to have an idea about how much money you want to ask for. So at that point, you can leave it blank if possible. If it's requiring you to include something, you might want to put a range. If you have to put in a specific number, I would put the higher end of your range, not the highest, but somewhere in the 75th percentile of your range. You never want to put the lowest number there because they'll hold you to it. So you definitely want to think about what you're putting down, even at the very beginning, if it's in the application. Similarly, during a phone screen, sometimes an employer will ask, what are your salary requirements? That's sort of an easy way to weed candidates out if they're significantly overselling or underselling themselves. So you want to have a range for that conversation as well, and you might be able to get some information out of the employer at that point too. And then once you receive your offer, so you've gone through multiple rounds of interviews, they give you your offer, that is when you can actually begin negotiating. So after you receive an offer, you can always ask for time to consider it. So say, thank you so much for this offer. I really appreciate it. When can I get back to you? Because I'd love some time to think it over. Once you establish that time to get back to the employer in partnership with the employer, then you can use that time to begin to develop a negotiation plan. You might be trying to time multiple offers. So if you're in the interview process with multiple organizations and want to keep your options open, you shouldn't be afraid to try and slow down or speed up the process with multiple employers. So to delay an offer, you can always try and schedule a later second or third round interview date. And then if you ever need to speed up an offer, you can always disclose additional or multiple offer information to other employers. Overall, this requires a lot of balance and is very subjective. But really, what you want to think about and consider is you don't want to pull or push too hard because employers can say, you know what, we're going to move on to our second choice. Like I said, you have power once you have that offer, but you don't want to abuse that power because you can lose it. You want to establish a position of strength. So 4 major things that every master's pen engineering student should be working into their negotiation is number 1, your advanced degree. Number 2, all of the technical skills that you have as a result of completing this degree program. Any past work experience that you've had. So if you enrolled in your graduate program after having worked, you want to definitely include all of that. If you went right from undergrad, but you've been involved in a ton of organizations and student groups, then you definitely want to include all of those experiences as well. And then other offers. If you have other offers and you're trying to speed up with one group and you're trying to get information from everyone, you can always disclose other offers to try and make sure that you have all the information that you need in order to make your final decision. No matter what, you need to prepare for some hard questions. So things like, do you have any other offers? Or if we made you an offer tomorrow, would you say yes? These questions are designed to find other things out. But no matter what, you never want to lie in these situations. It's unethical and can come back to harm you. What you want to do is try and assess what the question asker is trying to evaluate and begin by providing those underlying details. So I sort of have an example in these next slides here. So the question, do you have any other offers? The employer might be assessing, how quickly do we have to move? Do other companies see this person as an asset? Do we have to be flexible in our offer? And are we your priority? So have you been talking to other people? If not, how obsessed with us are you? So a good answer here is, I can tell you that I've been conducting a targeted job search in this particular field and have moved forward in conversations with 2 other companies. So here what you're deciding is that you're comfortable saying that you have other offers, but you're not going to go into too many details. And what you are showcasing to the employer is you are an asset, that you are someone who is desirable and that they should go back and figure out what they're going to be doing with your offer. If we made you an offer tomorrow, will you say yes? So what they might be trying to assess is, how seriously are you considering our offer, and do you like the position? Here you might say, that's hard to answer without any of the offer details. What I can tell you is, based on my interviews and conversations with your colleagues, I'm still very interested in this role and would like to continue to explore my fit with your team. So if you don't have any of the offer details, it cannot be expected that you would accept sight unseen. But you do want to reiterate interest in the role and help them feel more confident that you're still interested and they should still be taking you seriously as a candidate. Sometimes an employer might ask you, what is your current salary? So this question has been outlawed in some states and cities because it has a negative impact on pay equity. You can look online and find out the most up-to-date laws. There are a few centralized websites that track this. If you do provide your salary, it's fair to ask for a sample salary range for comparable positions within the organization. So say on the application, they say, what's your current salary? And you include that information. When you have that phone screen, you can say, hey, I noticed that you asked for my current salary. I just want to know, do you mind giving me a range or something that you're thinking with in terms of this role? What are you thinking about for the hiring of this particular position? So it may be appropriate to list your base salary and other bonuses combined in that current salary question, if applicable. So if you feel like your salary in this new job is going to be significantly higher than what you're making now, you want to showcase all of the assets that come in your current role. And if that includes bonuses, you can combine those two things to get a little bit closer to that other number. Like I said, this question is being outlawed in some states and cities. I've only seen that list grow, so hopefully this is a problem that we don't have as much in the future. Your language and tone are really important in offer negotiations, and it's a balancing act. So you need to be enthusiastic, and yet you have to be realistic. I saw it put this way as well. You need to be confident yet gracious. You need to be honest. You need to base your negotiation on data, which is why it's so important that you watch webinars like this, you use the online tools that we've had and showed you, and that you can start to get an idea of a range and what your needs are. You want to share your evidence clearly, concisely, and confidently. You don't want to go into this seeming nervous. Well, you can feel this nervous. That's totally natural. You really want to make your words confident in these conversations. Here's some sample language. So, candidate, I'm really excited about the position and the upcoming projects. Do you have any flexibility regarding the offer? Based on my research, it looks like salaries for the position are in the range of X to X. Given my advanced degree and proven technical competence related to the position requirements, could we look at something a little higher? At that point, the employer will most likely say, what did you have in mind? So whenever you can, you want the employer to put a number out first, but they're trained so well to get you to say a number that 9 times out of 10, you'll end up having to do this on your own. If you can get them to present a number before you do, that's where you're in the strongest scenario. It's just sometimes really hard to get. So an answer to this would be, based on salary data reported from your conversation, I'm sorry, I need to start over. Based on salary data reported from your organization on Glassdoor and my advanced experience related to project management, I was hoping to receive the higher end of the salary range of X. So whenever you are asking for that number, you are having points to back it up. And then I did just want to quickly touch on exploding offers. So an exploding offer is an offer that expires within 1 week. So we don't hear from you with an acceptance within 1 week, it's gone. This should be a red flag to you no matter what. Every time that you get an exploding offer, it should sort of indicate something about the culture of the organization that's providing it to you. So you first need to ask yourself, how excited am I about this offer? If you're still really excited, then you're going to want to move through with it. How explosive is this offer? So if it's something like you need to let us know within 48 hours, that's really hard. They're putting candidates in a really hard position. And again, it should make you question their culture. Then you want to ask yourself, where am I in other interviews? Do you have to speed up or slow down anyone else? And why might this offer be explosive? So why are they making this tight turnaround for me? What's going on in their department, in this organization? Why do they need someone? And that might be a question that you ask once you receive the offer. So you could say, hey, this is a classic exploding offer. Do you mind just telling me why the quick turnaround? What's the reason for this tight timeline? And then that might help you make your decision as well. In every negotiation, you have to follow your instincts and allow for reflection. So, whenever you get that offer, you need time to consider it fully. You need time to do your research, and then you need time during the negotiation process to think about every step of the way. That's all I have for today, but I hope everyone learned something valuable in this session.